Hi, everyone. My name is Christina Bowie, and I will be doing an assessment on Jane Doe featuring the behavioral approach. So let's get started here. So, basically, what is the behavioral approach? The behavioral approach believes that a person's behavior is learned and can be unlearned, and new behaviors learned. A person's behavior must be observable and measurable as people are viewed as controlled by their environment. Therefore, our behavior is a result of what we have learned from our environment. In the behavior approach, there are two main processes: the operant conditioning and classical conditioning. The operant conditioning is learning through consequences, and the classical condition is learning by associations. The behavior approach believes that environmental factors called stimuli affects our behaviors, which is called the response. Therefore, we learn how to respond to our environment, which creates our behavior. So, who is Jane Doe? Jane Doe was adopted at birth and grew up in a middle class home. Her adopted mother was a nurse, and her adopted father was a treatment plant worker. Her adopted mother struggled with anxiety and loved to be in control of everything. Her adopted father is a recovering alcoholic and struggled with controlling his anger. Although there were many family problems in the home as these inner issues came out, no one ever knew as the family was looked at in the public eye as the all-American family. Jane Doe grew up and went to college. However, in college she struggled with how to handle stress and had frequent anxiety. In college, Jane Doe began to date a guy from her college football team. Jane struggled in the relationship as the relationship became toxic. The college boyfriend was an alcoholic and could not control his anger. Jane suffered from emotional, verbal, and at times physical abuse at the hands of her college boyfriend. Jane became very depressed and was told by her mother she needed counseling. While going to counseling, Jane started to make changes in her life. Leaving her boyfriend and graduating from college, Jane found a job in marketing and advertising and is currently married with a daughter and a baby boy on the way. Jane's husband has struggled with anger issues, and Jane struggles with wanting things her way and being in control. Jane has quit her job and is a stay at home mother now, while her husband works. That's just a little background information on Jane Doe. So, we will look at the behavioral approach relating to Jane Doe's situation. Jane has experienced many different obstacles in her life, her environment being the stimuli, and her behavior acting as the response. Jane struggled with dealing with stress as her mother did when Jane was a child. The relationship between her mother and father was viewed as the norm. Therefore, in college, she got into the same kind of relationship. Jane's life is a mimic of her environment as she was growing up. Basically, she dealt with the triangulation, which occurs when two people in the family bring a third party to resolve stress, anxiety, and tension that exists between them. Jane grew up caught in the middle of her parents. Her father had a difficult time controlling his anger, and her mother had to constantly stay in control of the situation. Jane was in the middle, oftentimes having to choose on one who was right and the one who was wrong. Jane has learned from her parents' relationship and has displayed in her life the behaviors that have been learned. Jane's Facebook. Jane's Facebook displays the love that she has for her family. Her bio states the college that she attended, she is married, and the city in which she resides. Her page displays her husband and her daughter mostly, and most posts about her in, about and most posts are about her in-laws. There are many photos and posts about her daughter and husband. Her posts are brief and are not often and given little detail. There are not many posts about her adopted parents. Many of the posts are of her being tagged by her adopted sister or in-laws. There are few of her adopted parents. Her friends list is 387 people and many photos of her daughter and husband. So, her Facebook page relating to the behavioral approach. Jane's Facebook displays little content. However, it displays her daughter and husband. Her Facebook shies away from her adopted parents and mostly shows her in laws and her own family. The environment in which she chooses to display her personal life is to a small group of friends, which is 386 friends. These friends consist of family, close friends that she still keeps in contact with. Some are college friends. The behavioral approach explains a behavior that must be observable and measurable, and Jane's behavior shows her love and passion for her daughter, her husband, and also respect for her privacy, as she does not mention much about her life, although through pictures that she posts. So now we're going to compare and contrast the reality of Jane's life and her Facebook page. Basically, when comparing Jane's actual life and social media life, she keeps a private life. Jane in her social media does not reveal how she suffers from anxiety and at times depression. She does mention that her husband, she does not mention that her husband has, excuse me, Jane does not mention in her Facebook post that her husband has anger issues, and she does not mention her adopted parents as the relationship is strained. Social media shows her life as living the American dream, and she has a happy, healthy life. Her actual life is that she continues to receive counseling for depression. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Okay, so her actual life, she continues to receive counseling for depression and is currently 5 months pregnant. Jane has suffered fertility issues and has not revealed her pregnancy to others on social media. Jane's social media only shows a happy marriage and the love that she has for her daughter. People maintain systems of, sorry, I'm having a difficult time having this go down. Okay. People maintain systems of beliefs that provide them with a sense of belongingness, control, identity, and meaning more generally. This was by Sligers and Pollax, 2015. The reasoning for the differences between the real world and Jane's online personality within the com I'm sorry, let me start that sentence again. The reasoning for the difference between the real world and Jane's online personality within the complex model in the behavioral approach is that she has created an identity in which she has learned what society desires and thinks is a normal, healthy family, and has displayed that on Facebook. Sligers and Pollax state that environment violation invoke a specific stress response that begins with the defense reaction marked by anxiety, which Jean has displayed. I keep losing my place. Uh, So she has exhibited a reaction marked by anxiety and avoidance, a state of behavioral inhibition. People respond to the evasive state by approaching their values, ideologies, and worldviews. Jane's environment has released stress responses that create defense, such as anxiety and avoidance, such as on her social media displays something completely different in her actual life. Social media has created a kind of textual iconic atmosphere in which many people live, retrieve information, or shape opinions. Facebook, for instance, has become a hub where one can find the quote of the day and analyze people's lives based on postings. Thus, the way in which these stories are written and presented influence how we think, how we argue, and how we see things in life. While evaluating and describing the usefulness of the behavioral approach as they maintain a personality theory, Jane's case is an example of how environmental influences behavior as behavior is learned. Controlling one's environment, such as social media, can produce the life in which one believes is socially correct, while in reality, one's environment is in a uncontrolled setting, producing responses such as anxiety and depression. In conclusion, Jane's life is a product of her environment, an environment that she has learned from. The stimulus has produced responses in which are uncontrollable. Society has painted the describable lifestyle in which Jane exhibits on social media. Jane's actual life and environment shows the hardships of life and how to overcome them when dealing with the reality of the situation. Thank you, everyone, for listening to my post. I apologize again. I had a little bit of technical issues, but this is the finishing of my assignment.